amazing how this world was made. I wonder if God is a woman.
March is Women's Month and also the 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, the agency leading the island's charge for a more gender-equal society. With that said, we're here with the Bureau as they continue their work in making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Hello and welcome to another edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Adrian Atkinson, your host. The expose on the Bureau starts right now.
A message from the Bureau of Gender Affairs and the Disputes Resolution Foundation, paid for by the UN Women Fund for Gender Equality.
Good day, I'm Caroline Brown-Thompson and this is your JIS News for Monday, March 10. Crime-fighting strategies implemented by the security forces and other stakeholders are reaping tangible results. Police statistics are showing a decrease in murders for the first month of the year, the lowest in over a decade.
At 73 murders in January, still high, but it was the lowest January in 11 years.
The National Security Minister says the Unite for Change campaign, which urges all citizens to join in crime-fighting efforts, is also bearing fruit. He points to successes following a peace march involving residents of the Dunkirk community in East Kingston on February 23.
Within 4 days of that peace march, which was led, the leadership was provided by the church. Within 4 days, an AK-47, an M16 rifle, a machine pistol, and another gun were recovered by the police because of the work of the community and the impact that the peace had.
Minister Bunting was addressing the recent Heritage Awareness Church and Business Leaders Breakfast hosted by the Spanish Town Development Area Committee. Agriculture and Fisheries Minister Roger Clark says government intends to cut the importation of goat meat as part of the country's food security measures. Farmers, he says, must therefore prepare to significantly increase the rearing of the small ruminants.
We sell sufficient in pork and poultry. We import a lot of mutton, but we eat a lot of curry goat, but some 80% of that curried goat meat, or whatever you call it, is imported into this country. The potential is there for significant growth. We want to change that, and that is why we are seeking to improve our program for small ruminants.
Minister Clark was speaking at the 58th Hague Agricultural Show held in Trelawney recently. He said the expansion was being assisted by a 4-year small ruminant project that would provide improved goat and sheep genetics for farmers to improve meat and value-added production. To improve on the over 10% growth recorded in the agriculture sector in the last quarter of 2013, Minister Clark said plans were also underway for the resuscitation of other targeted areas such as inland fishery. Government is welcoming continued support for the modernization of the sugar industry to help increase production, create jobs, and grow the economy. Speaking during a familiarization tour of the Money Musk Sugar Factory in Clarendon recently, Labour Minister Derek Kelly said the upgrading works there would help to boost national development.
Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company can play a significant role in the success of this productivity revolution by the technological modernization projects that it is currently implementing to increase the production of sugarcane yield at its 3 operating factories, Bernard Lodge, Frome, and here at Moneymusk.
Pan-Caribbean Sugar Company Limited is a subsidiary of the China National Complete Plant Import-Export Corporation. The company has pledged $1.6 billion to upgrade operations at the factories over the next 3 years. The management of protected areas is to be strengthened with the completion of the Protected Areas System Master Plan, PASMP, which is to be taken to Cabinet soon. Water, Land, Environment and Climate Change Minister Robert Pickersgill made the announcement while addressing participants at a recent environmental management forum put on by the Global Environment Fund.
The PASMP will be the primary national policy document for strengthening the management and extending the coverage of protected areas. The plan notes that effective implementation will require partnerships between the government of Jamaica, communities, NGOs, academia, and other interested parties.
The National Stadium pool has been fitted with a new $31 million filtration system to facilitate the proper treatment of water in the pool. Commissioned into service last Tuesday, it replaces a system that's more than 40 years old.
This pool rehabilitation program is part of a larger policy goal to improve the sport infrastructure across Jamaica. The government, through the National Sports Policy, has committed to this, and we intend to keep that commitment.
And finally, CARICOM members have proposed that the private sector be incorporated within the Community on Trade and Economic Development, COTED, as implementation of the CARICOM single market proceeds. COTED is responsible for the promotion of trade and economic development of the Caribbean community. The recommendation came after deliberations of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on the CARICOM single market and economy during its 8th meeting held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Sunday. The subcommittee members are of the view that the private sector has to be re-engaged in the implementation process, as they can be the driving force of the single market. While addressing members of the Diplomatic Corps early February, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator A.J. Nicholson voiced Jamaica's support for such a move.
Jamaica strongly supports the view that the private sector should have a seat at the table of the COTED meetings, bearing in mind the critical role that they have played and must continue to play in regional integration.
The CSME subcommittee meeting was held prior to the official opening of the 25th intersessional meeting of CARICOM heads of government. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller is leading Jamaica's delegation to that meeting. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Caroline Brown-Thompson. Thanks for watching.
Family,
school,
church,
community,
all important agents of change in our society.
They influence what we think about ourselves, our surroundings, and how we see the roles of males and females.
Let's all work together for equality for all Jamaicans.
Let's make Jamaica a place where both males and females have equal access to a good education, good jobs, the best health care, and opportunities for the good of the country.
Males and females are different, but it doesn't mean they're not equal.
Let's build a Jamaica that doesn't discriminate. Become an agent of change.
The Bureau of Gender Affairs has been working on ways to level the playing field for both males and females on the island. Joining me now is the Acting Director of Policy and Research in the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Mrs. Sharon Coburn Robinson. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk a little bit about the work that the Bureau is doing, particularly about leadership and gender.
Thank you, Adrian. The Bureau has been working significantly with women who have been, for the most part, in leadership, but research has proven that there has been a significant gap. Right. And for this reason, we wanted to have programs and policies in place that would allow for a greater participation of women in these areas. And so our National Policy for Gender Equality has been so designed to ensure that there is increased participation. We have requested, for example, that there be a 30% quota of women in representation politics. We have also been doing work in terms of economic and political empowerment through programs and policies.
That's great. Thank you for that bit of information. We now join Jamaica House Weekly for a recap of last week's engagement of another great leader, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller, and her team at Jamaica House.
25th intersessional meeting of CARICOM heads of government already bearing fruit, renewed commitment to the promotion of gender equality on the island, and new filtration system for stadium pool. This is Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Samantha Allen. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller has joined her CARICOM counterparts in recommending that the private sector be incorporated within the Community on Trade and Economic Development (COTED). The recommendation came out of the 8th meeting of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on the CARICOM Single Market and Economy held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Sunday. In addition to discussions on having the private sector being the driving force of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, the group also got progress reports from member states on the implementation of the single market. The ongoing CARICOM reform process was also discussed. The Prime Ministerial Subcommittee met ahead of Monday's official opening of the two-day 25th intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM. Among the issues up for discussion are the use of marijuana for medical and health purposes, climate change, information and communication technology, and sustainable development of the region's economies. The Prime Minister is expected back on the island on Wednesday. Before her departure, Mrs. Simpson Miller was honored by the Bureau of Women's Affairs as the island celebrated International Women's Week. At last Friday's function at the Jamaica Pegasus, the Prime Minister used the occasion to recognize the work of former Prime Minister Michael Manley and his then-wife Beverly Anderson Manley in pushing a number of policies and legislation which promoted gender equality. Like the Prime Minister, the Bureau is celebrating 40 years of serving the Jamaican people in 2014, and Mrs. Simpson Miller lauded the Bureau for its pivotal role in advancing the welfare of women on the island.
The 40-year-old Bureau of Women's Affairs, another of the creative endeavors of the 1970s, has had a good and productive life and is preparing for an even more effective future, learning from the successes and failures of the 40 years. As you're no doubt aware, the role of the Bureau is more than a catalytic one, influencing, promoting, monitoring, and guiding the steps to enable Jamaican women to achieve their full potential.
The function also served as the handing over ceremony of grant funding worth $200,000 for 19 community-based organizations.
Let me encourage you to continue to work in your various communities toward the promotion of gender equality and women's empowerment. And I charge all of us to remain resolute and passionate about inspiring change.
And on International Women's Day on March 8, Mrs. Simpson Miller renewed the island's commitment, advocacy and activism to inspire change and ensure that equality for women is progress for all, while noting that Jamaica has had a long and distinguished involvement with the global movement for improving the status of women. The Prime Minister said several challenges still remained. On Ash Wednesday, Mrs. Simpson Miller left the island for Venezuela, where she participated in ceremonies to commemorate the first anniversary of the death of the country's former president, Hugo Chavez. The events included a military parade, a religious service, and a cultural program. Minister without portfolio responsible for sport, Natalie Nita Headley, was also busy this past week. On Tuesday, she commissioned into service a new filtration system at the National Stadium pool. The $31 million system replaces the old pool treatment system, which is some 50 years old.
Now with the filtration system in place, we seek the assistance of all Jamaicans. Firstly, to protect and cherish the facility, and secondly, to work with us in identifying the funds required to do additional work here at the Aquatic Center. Support us in whatever way possible. Sports is for all Jamaicans.
And that's it for this week's edition of Jamaica House Weekly. Join us again next week for the latest out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome to the FSC Minute. I am Nadine Newsom. Today we explore anti-money laundering and its implications for the FSC regulated sectors. And joining me is Laurice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the FSC. Welcome to the FSC Minute, Laurice.
Thank you, Nadine.
What is money laundering?
The goal of most criminal activity is to generate a profit. So in order to enjoy these ill-gotten gains, criminals often seek to disguise the source of these funds. So the process by which the criminals seek to put these ill-gotten gains into legitimate source of business or into investments is what is called money laundering.
And what role does the FSC play as it relates to anti-money laundering laws?
The FSC is mandated by Section 62F of the Financial Services Commission Act to put into place measures to reduce the possibility of its regulated sectors, that is the pension sector, the insurance industry, or the securities industry, from being involved in any activity or in any offense relating to money laundering. The FSC seeks to implement such measures to reduce or to mitigate the risk concerning money laundering or financing of terrorism. And when these risks are identified, these measures will seek to alleviate the risks.
Does the FSC provide specific instructions to institutions regarding the procedures to put in place for anti-money laundering compliance?
No, the FSC does not. The FSC is a gatekeeper for the industry, and what we seek to do is to get the industry to work to find out what is it that they need to do to implement measures that can safeguard their own entities from being used into using schemes for money laundering activities.
Thank you, Laurice. My guest today was Laurice Edwards-Brown, Director of Investigations and Enforcement at the FSC. For the FSC Minute, I am Nadine Newsom.
Amazing how this world was made. I wonder if God is a woman. The gift of life astounds me to this day. I give it up for the woman.
I, Portia Lucretia Simpson Miller, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Jamaica, that I will uphold and defend the Constitution and the laws of Jamaica, and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my responsibilities to the people of Jamaica, so help me God.
And with those few words, Portia Simpson Miller became the first female Prime Minister of Jamaica back in March 2006. In February of that year, she also became the first female president of the People's National Party. A year later, she lost the 2007 general election, leading to another first, leader of the opposition. In 2011, however, Mrs. Simpson Miller again made history, becoming the first female to be elected head of government twice. A long-serving parliamentarian, the Prime Minister was first elected to represent Southwest St Andrew in Parliament in 1976. Due to the people's confidence in her leadership, she still represents that constituency today. Mrs. Simpson Miller has had a colorful life in politics, having been a vice president of the PNP, also serving as a cabinet minister in various posts, including Minister of Tourism, Local Government, Labour and Sports. Portia Lucretia Simpson Miller, a pioneering female in the field of Jamaican politics.
What a woman. Hey, she'll put a smile upon her face and take you to the fireplace. So don't you underestimate the strength of a woman.
Did you know regular physical activity controls your weight, reduces your risk of cardiovascular diseases, reduces your risk for type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, reduces your risk of some cancers, strengthens your bones and muscles, and increases your chance of living longer? Get active, get fit, stay healthy.
The Bureau of Gender Affairs does not only tackle women's issues, but also male-related problems. Ms. Robinson, let's talk a little bit about that.
To the extent that men and boys are very much a part of the equation where gender is concerned, we have been rolling out programs and projects, and in particular working through the implementation of our national policy for gender equality, which is designed to ensure that there is equal participation of men and women in all areas of decision making, in terms of economic empowerment, political empowerment, and to have access to rewards, opportunities, benefits on a basis of equality with men.
Okay, very, very interesting bit of information there. And we must say that March is also recognized as Colon Cancer Awareness Month, and colon cancer is really the third leading cause of deaths, cancer deaths in Jamaica for both men and women.
Colon cancer is cancer of the large bowel. The large bowel is that area of the bowel which contains the waste products. Whenever you have colon cancer, it means that those cells are growing uncontrollably, and it's something that is very serious. It is a condition which we have to diagnose early, and so we can manage it appropriately. Once we diagnose colon cancer, the next step is to stage it. We want to know if it's confined to the colon or if it's outside the colon. So you're likely to have a CAT scan of the abdomen, a special X-ray, an X-ray of the chest, and some blood tests. We can use that information to decide if it's localized or if it's very involved. And that can help us to plan what your treatment is going to be. Colon cancer is very common in Jamaica in terms of cancers. We do know that it's the third most common cause of cancer-related death. So in males behind lung and prostate, in females behind breast and cervix. It accounts for maybe between 13 to 18 new cases per 100,000 per year in Kingston, and it may be even higher if you consider the entire island. The prognosis for colon cancer is very good, even though the numbers are very high. But the prognosis is good if you pick up the disease very early. So the earlier you detect colon cancer is the more likely you are to survive the condition. And that's why screening is important. Screening has been shown to reduce the incidence of death and complications from colon cancer. And we can use screening to actually prevent the development of cancer and treat. Stage 4 disease, however, if it's very late and has spread outside, only very low survival figures, as low as 20% would still be surviving by 5 years. So you do really need to pick up the condition very early, and that would be the best chance to improve your survival.
Now, the Bureau of Gender Affairs has just concluded a number of activities this past week in recognition of International Women's Week. I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and what are some of the other activities that are planned for the rest of the year?
So persons can look out today, Adrian, for the Flare. Good. In the Flare, we have a magazine that is actually a pullout. Yes. And what it does is to highlight the contribution of women and men in terms of an observance of International Women's Day. So in the Flare, we have partners who will speak, as well as the Bureau, and there's going to be a significant amount of focus on the theme. And to the extent that it's our 40th anniversary, we do have a number of activities that we will be rolling out for the rest of the year.
You spoke a little bit about partnership. How important is partnership?
Extremely critical. We know that as a government, we cannot do the work alone, and so partnership is what we do. So we have on board women's groups, women's NGOs, civil society organizations, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations who partner with us to roll out our programs and our activities, and of course, our policy. So we look forward to an exciting year of activities in observance of our 40th anniversary.
A society in which males and females have equal access to opportunities, resources, protection, and most important, contribute to national development. That's the vision of the National Policy for Gender Equality. We want to ensure that we empower our boys and girls to be the best versions of themselves, placing no limit on what they can achieve. If we adults want to transform our society, we have to be the change we want to see in the world. And that transformation starts in the home.
Washing up, boys and girls can wash up the plates. They can alternate. Hanging the clothes on the line or taking them off the line, boys and girls can do that. Sweeping the house or cleaning the house, boys and girls can do that. Making up your bed when you come out of it, boys and girls can do that. Remembering to hang up your towel on the towel rail, whether you're a boy or girl, you can do that. Now, because we're talking about gender equality, we're not talking about gender identicality, right, if I may coin a word. So it's not about boys and girls being identical. So let us say that I am a girl, but I love animals. So I would like to be the one who takes care of the dogs. Then that's fine. It may be that the boy, he may love cooking. Well, certainly, why shouldn't he do the cooking? So I think while the main thing is make sure they are engaged, you know, and one is not allowed to do nothing while the other one does everything.
Remember, you're teaching your child lessons for life, so ensure that they are learning the right things.
We've come to the end of our program for today. Thank you for having joined us. If you'd like to learn more about the work of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, please call them at 929-6660. We'd love to hear from you, so drop us a line. Send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. You can follow us at Twitter at JIS News. Please visit our website, jis.gov.jm. On behalf of the entire production team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.